Immediately.
All right. Okay. Children, it is a request that we are going into the discussion now. So it's a request to all of you to keep yourselves muted. You can keep your cameras on, but you should be muted, right? Okay. Very good morning to Principal Ma'am, Tapushi Ma'am, Vice Principal Ma'am, and Priyanka Ma'am, and a very, very good morning to our very special guest. A very, very warm welcome to our students. Dear students, we are today in a webinar and not a seminar. Today, the discussion is on this. Why is it that we are in a webinar? Why is it that we are all at our homes and not in the school? Why is it that we are not with our friends? The reason is COVID-19. Lockdown is a word that we have become very familiar with. The reason again is COVID-19. The world has come to a standstill due to this COVID-19. We are locked in our houses, afraid to go out. This fear has given rise to anxiety and stress. This fear has made us realize how insignificant we are before nature. We have adapted ourselves to the new normal, the masks, the sanitizers, the gloves, and the social distancing. We had adapted ourselves to living away from our friends and our loved ones, closed in our houses. This fear of only one invisible enemy, COVID-19. This unseen enemy has affected us emotionally, mentally, physically, and financially. The future today seems unpredictable and uncertain. Thus, to guide us through this, we are extremely honored to have with us Mrs. Shampa Chowdhury, who believes that man must believe in his efficacy to deal with his emotional realm. So, prepare yourself to be challenged, excited, and inspired. I hand over this virtual platform to our honored Principal Ma'am to welcome our guest speaker and to set the webinar rolling.
Thank you, Sabha. Good morning, all of you. Good morning, Shampa ma'am. I think Sabha has extensively told us about the invisible enemy, but we are not scared. Let me tell you, we are not scared because, as yesterday Shampa ma'am said, that we know how to face it with courage. I would like to first of all welcome our CEO sir, who always is beside us to help us, Mr. S.L. Gupta. Sir, please. We would really, we are indeed honored, sir, to have you with us and for your support that we get whenever we need you. Thank you so much, sir. And yesterday we had a very enlightening session with Shampa ma'am, hoping to enjoy it again today with her, sir. And once again, with all thanks to our very supportive management, I would not take long, but hand over the virtual platform to Madhumita ma'am to speak a few words about Shampa Chowdhury. Welcome, sir. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Principal ma'am, and a very good morning to our CEO, sir, Mr. S.L. Gupta, to our Principal ma'am, Mrs. Vijaya Chowdhury, Director Academics, Mrs. Tapushi Chowdhury, and our guest, and all the other in charges, teachers, and my dear students. Today, it is a special day for all of us because we know about the individual enemy. We have been facing it and we have been dealing with it. But however, there are certain thoughts which keep coming back to us, could be positive at times, but mostly negative. And we will now understand and learn as to how to deal with them and deal effectively and still keep going. I have the pleasure to talk about Mrs. Chowdhury, who has a rich experience in education sector with active involvement in counseling with students, teachers, and parents. She has a varied clientele in individual counseling with her services reaching out to educational institutes, clinics, legal bodies, and NGOs, even the corporates. As Saba ma'am said, let me repeat, she believes that man must learn to realize his efficacy in dealing with his emotional realm and thus actualize his potential to lead a life of dignity and happiness. So with this, thank you, Shampa ma'am, and if you could take over.
May we please request sir to put in a few words to welcome our ma'am.
Yes, sir, please.
Sir? Sir, are you there, sir?
Ma'am, I can't see him in the list, ma'am.
Okay, doesn't matter. Please go ahead then. Ma'am, please take over, ma'am. Shampa ma'am, please take over.
Good morning, and thank you so much for that very, very warm welcome. I feel really privileged to be with you this morning in this webinar and to be able to meet the management, the CEO, the principal, vice principal, headmistress coordinator, all the management of B.D. Memorial International, the wonderful teachers, and the very, very young and energetic students. So I do understand that how difficult it must have been for you since March last year, 2020. None of us were prepared for it. We were all hopeful that by this year things would come back to normal. We would be back to our regular jobs, schools, wherever we go. And again, we are under, lockdown. So again, we our friends said we're under house arrest. So it must have been so difficult this time, and it's still difficult. It's not to say that our problems and our challenges are over, but the very fact that we are in, all of us are in this together, that is the most important part, that all of us can fight it together. So here today I have for you a PowerPoint presentation, but that's more of a guide because I want it to be more like a discussion. We will have time for question and answers because you're so young and so passionate. You must be full of ideals. So you must be having lots of queries, lots of doubts, lots of questions in your mind, because yesterday there were so many questions and I felt so bad that I couldn't answer all of them. And I have written to Madhumita ma'am and Vijaya ma'am that I'm going to reply to all the questions, because I wouldn't like to feel that I have not addressed one child and that youngster would probably be waiting for a response. So I'm going to do that, and I promise that by tomorrow my answers will be ready. So really look forward to a very, very rewarding and interactive session. So now, well, all right, COVID is here. No, we had the first wave, we had the second, we are having the second wave, and we've been also told be careful, there might be a third wave. And there are so many mutants in the environment, so there are so many viruses. Fine, those are physical viruses, those are invisible viruses. We will know, we have to be prepared, we have to take care of our health, we have to observe all the protocols that have been told to us, we are being educated, we are being informed, so we will make those choices. But is it just that we are facing the threat of COVID, or there are other threats around us? And what could be the worst threat than that of a weak mind and a weak body and a weak spirit that gives in to that fear of COVID, succumbs to the challenges, succumbs to the obstacles, and is unable to see beyond the COVID, beyond the pandemic, because the pandemic is going to end one day. Believe me, it might seem rather long, but in the past also, when wars had gone on, people thought they are never going to end, but the wars ended. There was the Spanish flu, it ended. So there were endemics and epidemics and pandemics, and they all ended. And we have to have that kind of hope that yes, it's going to end. But meantime, what can we do? How do we look beyond COVID? What is it that you need? What is it that youngsters, and in fact, all of us need to crusade through this pandemic? So, one, as you can see in the slide, we need confidence. So many of us, suffer from feelings of inadequacy and lack of confidence and self-doubt. We cannot accept ourselves. We hate ourselves. We are so critical of ourselves. We feel that we are absolutely no good. I'm useless. And then all the confidence, all our abilities that are there, they are just, flushed down the drain because I keep feeling that I'm no good and I'm not capable. So I will never be any good. I keep comparing myself. So that is very, very self-defeating behavior. That's where those thoughts are very self-defeating. And we need to be able to learn how to come out of those kind of thoughts. And it will come by doing. So we need a lot of confidence. Why compassion? Because if we are always thinking about ourselves and pitying ourselves and we are only concerned about ourselves, then we are never going to be happy and we are never going to make any worthwhile contribution either to our families or to our societies or to our communities or to the world. So that's like, every little drop fills makes a big ocean. So every little effort of ours goes out, reaches out to touch lives in the community, and all of us together. It's not just me, it's just not your principal, it's just not your vice principal, it's just not your CEO, sir. We're all your teachers, all your parents, all of us together are like those, drops in the ocean which will, make out a bigger and a more compassionate mankind. So we go out and work for mankind, we work for ourselves. And how can we work for mankind? Only if we are happy ourselves, only if we are at peace with ourselves, only when we have accepted ourselves, only when we are confident that yes, I can do it, then the compassion will come. No, so although they are very, very intellect, but how do we have compassion and confidence? So it will all have to start with courage. We have to let go of our fears. So a courageous person may feel fearful, just like a performer would say, I'm feeling very scared. I get goosebumps, I get goose pimples before I go on to stage. But the moment the performer is on stage, he or she forgets everything. So similarly, it can happen just like you all before you go for your exams, although you're very well prepared, still there is that little bit of palpitation in the heart. Your hands might be sweating a little, but there you are. Once the question paper comes and you're writing, and so you have taken the first step towards letting go of your fears. You're courageous enough to have appeared for the exam, and you're writing ahead with confidence. So all these human qualities are very, very interlinked, and we need all that to surge ahead in the weeks to come, in the months to come, in the years to come. Because in 4 years' time, 3 years' time, most of you would have passed out school and you'd be ready for college or for your chosen professions. Can we have the next slide, please? So, how do we get all this? Because these are such frustrating times, such desperate times, such threatening times, so dark, so grim. Uh, we have to hope, isn't it? Now, yesterday there was a very nice question that whenever I hope, there is a disappointment. So, I think the person is very scared to hope. But you see, disappointments, as I will be discussing, is a part and parcel of life. We have all faced disappointments, I'm sure, with something or the other. It may be marks, it may be not getting a role in the play that I wanted, it could be not being selected for a competition, it could be not getting the job that I wanted, it could be having a disappointment in a love affair. It could be a disappointment with your friend who let you down. It could be so many things. But life doesn't stop at the disappointment. We find another avenue, we find another direction. That is why I have written towards an inexhaustible wellspring of hope. So if one hope is crushed, I find another hope to live for. So it is only through hope that we can go ahead. And why hope? Because nobody can give you hope. Yes, we give each other hope, but ultimately it has to come from within you. Hope is a decision, it is a choice. And why do we have to take that decision to hope against despair? Because then we will not stagnate. We will move ahead. Because when we know that why we are living through this pandemic, why I'm still alive today, why I am surviving the pandemic, and fingers crossed, may we all survive the pandemic to go ahead and write our histories of victory, write our own stories. So I hope, all of you would be writing a story now and ending the story or going ahead with the story even after the pandemic. So there definitely is a reason for all of us as to why we are living, why we are still carrying on. So then, if you know you have a reason and what is the reason and you have a why, then of course you can, all of us can are bearing, and we can almost bear anyhow. This was said by philosopher Nietzsche, and he was influenced by Ralph Waldo Emerson, also an essayist, a philosopher, writer, who has written that only when it is dark you can see the stars. So unless it's dark, we cannot see the myriad beautiful twinkling stars in the sky. Definitely. So, what do we have to practice? We have to be very patient. We have to have a lot of forbearance, fortitude. I know these are easier said than done. We all seem to be running out of patience every day. Every morning when we wake up, we see, okay, I have to face this day alone or with the same people in my house. It gets so difficult. Sometimes even families are running out of patience. They are jumping on each other's nerves, getting onto each other's nerves because the same faces, the same dialogues. Every day is, we have to rise up with courage, rise up with confidence that, okay, how do I live this day? Next slide, please. What has the Dalai Lama said about hope? Now, if you search Google and go to quotes and images on Google for hope, you will see there are so many quotes and such inspiring quotes about hope. Well, I just chose a few to share with you. I find hope in the darkest of the days and focus in the brightest. I do not judge the universe. Just like the MC was saying, the teacher who gave the welcome speech, that we are not here, to judge nature or judge universe, because nature and the universe will have its own laws of working. They may be very different from our laws, but once we are in harmony with the law of the universe, we can be at peace even when there is darkness around, and wait for the light, or be the light ourselves, be a beacon ourselves, and create that light, as we will see in some of the dialogues that were spoken in some movies that might be very close to your heart. And what is the other quote by Samuel Johnson? The natural flights of the human mind are not from pleasure to pleasure, but from hope to hope. So if one hope is crushed, do not stop hoping. Go on to the next hope. So we are, and maybe one hope will be fulfilled also, and then you start hoping for something new. So, uh, we used to have so much of fun waiting for the weekends, and now every day is a weekend. We used to say, okay, we'll go to our favorite cafes, go and relax for a while with our friends, go to the malls, hang around a little, have some fun. But all that has been stopped now. So, what is it that we are not looking for pleasure anymore? We are looking for life, we are looking for health, we are looking for hope, we are looking for well being. And of course, we are looking forward to our dreams, whatever they may be. Each one of us might have a dream, and we should have a dream so that we dare to dream, dare to believe, and go ahead to achieve that dream. So, definitely, I hope that you will not stop at one hope, but keep on hoping, go on from one hope to the other. The next slide. So, why should we hope and why should we have so much of courage? It is exactly because the years have been very unfair. Definitely, whatever has happened shouldn't have happened, but it still happened. So, if it has happened, then what can we do? They have been very, very unforeseen. They have been very uncertain. They've been very harsh. They've been very destructive. It seems as if there is a very, very cruel fate, very, very mercilessly, taking us towards, absolutely towards an existential crisis where mankind's survival is being questioned. To be able to survive is a challenge in itself. The next slide, please. So what do we need to do? Do we give up? Do we say that, oh, the end of the world has come, there's a contagion, and, it's just as predicted that the mankind is going to, be destroyed and the universe is going to come to end? No. It is again because there were people who were callous, no, who were not prepared. It is because there are such people in this world. It is exactly because of that good people, committed people, passionate people, people with a firm commitment for working for mankind. So mankind, you, me, all of us together, we need to garner all our strength more than ever before. And with what? With hope, with passion, with an unwavering resolve that for survival. And that can come from deep compassion within you, that I want to live, I want my parents to live, I want my siblings to live, I want my friends to live, I want my teachers, I want everybody whom I love, I want to live. There has been so much, as we heard during the welcome speech, it has not only affected our health, it has affected our mental well-being, it has affected our economy, it has affected our livelihood. We have seen so much of sadness and suffering around. I am sure it has affected each one of us in some way or the other. And even if you are very fortunate enough not to have been affected financially or say spiritually by it, but still I think there is not one person who has not felt sadness at what has happened in the past, over the past 1 year and more. So it is only through our compassion, through deep compassion for mankind, that we can move ahead, because none of us are islands, none of us are islands. So we have to, while we pray for our own happiness, we have to see how we can contribute to society also. The next slide, please. So definitely we heard about a new normal last year, isn't it? And people were talking about the new normal, but it is not just the new normal. You see, we did not expect that during the new normal there would be a second wave and there would be the black or the white fungus, and this was not the new normal we expected. We never thought that there would be a shortage of vaccines. Well, the vaccines have started coming again, but at a much higher price than was being given after the first wave. And but at least they have started coming. They are there for you to take it, I think 18 years and plus, but none of you all are 18 yet. But then there were the lack of adequate health facilities. They were not even prepared for the second wave. And we've seen so much of irresponsibility and callousness and merciless behavior. And look at the rapid loss of lives that happened, even young lives. Last year we heard that the youth are at least safe, but the second wave, even took away that confidence from us. So what do we need to do? So many of us have lost beloved ones, people whom we loved, friends, relatives, family members. It has been so difficult. It almost seemed that, why am I praying? Why am I even hoping? Because whatever has to happen will happen in any case. But no, when we think like that, then it becomes a very defeatist or a very fatalistic kind of attitude. So just about to be able to find courage from whatever is happening, we still have to go on hoping, because as we heard, the universe will have its own ways. The doctors have prepared us for a lot of inevitability. There have been loss of lives, but it's very sad, and but we need to move ahead from there. And death will come to all of us one day, but we do not even have to think about that, because as long as we are alive, we are only going to think about life and how we lead our lives. So now, if we have to be prepared for a third wave or a fourth wave, good God alone knows, or some other mutants, that what can we do? What should we do? The next slide. So, yesterday there were very interesting questions, and it's there in the slide. But I would like to stop here and now ask you, any of you have a question? Any of you would like to ask me something? So please go ahead, as you were told that nothing to fear. It is a serious discussion, of course. It's a very deep discussion that we are having. It's a very deep interaction, which I hope will touch each other But apart from that, also, it could be any question related to today's PPT, or it could be anything that's there in your mind. So think about it and you can write it in the chat box. But I just like to go over some common questions that young minds have. And that is one of the questions was that regarding hoping and getting disappointed. So as I said, that disappointments are a part of life, and we have to know how to overcome them and move ahead. So we need to understand the reasons behind the disappointment. What do we mean by disappointment? What were we looking forward to? How was it not fulfilled? How to cope with the disappointment, and how to turn the disappointment into an opportunity. Because that successes are those who do not stop at successes. Successes are those who turn around failures and mistakes into successes. So think about it. And there was another young lady who said that whenever I want to share with my parents, be it how lonely I feel or how I want to go places after COVID is over, they compare their childhood with my childhood and finally draw a conclusion that I was privileged enough not to fall into this drama. I must be thankful and happy and stop feeling these negative emotions. So some of you might be feeling this also, and some of your parents might be telling you this also. And I was actually thinking later on last evening that why did the parents say that? Because I think actually we lived a very happy childhood. No, we were climbing trees, scraping our knees, running over, falling over, jumping over fences, cycling, playing all the time, going out in the fields, running around. We did not have a pandemic when we were children. So why did the parent actually compare? But maybe they had their own perspective. So what I told the young lady is that, of course, if we are privileged, I do not know what privileges mean to each one of us. To somebody, an iPad may be a privilege, a tab may be a privilege. To somebody, a laptop, a very fancy laptop or a fancy phone might be a privilege. But I think life itself is the biggest privilege that we have. And if that, we need to understand what are our privileges. Yes, I understand it has been very difficult not being able to go out, not being able to travel. Yes, I think there is a. So I'll just end this. So, what I told the young lady is that if you like traveling, and I'm sure most of us love to travel, so wait for the right time and safe time. And during this time, you can do a lot of research on places to travel, budget friendly. If you're on a tight budget, then what could be a budget to travel? And prepare your catalogs that, okay, this could be a short travel, this could be a longer travel, this would be a travel at the end of 5 years, 6 years, or this could be a travel when I start earning. So this is what you need to think ahead and not just get into a self-pity mode or a complaining mode that my parents said this or my parents said that, I'm feeling so sad. Parents will say a whole lot of things. Teachers will say a whole lot of things, but how you turn around what they have said into your favor, into a positive direction is your imagination, your creativity, and your will to move ahead. So I think there was a question. I seem to have lost my chat box. Yes. How can I reframe the situation and find more balanced perspectives? Right. So I believe you're talking about the COVID situation. Am I right? Suhana? Can you be a little more specific? So, okay, all right. So you're talking about the COVID situation. So, see, the COVID is here, probably as doctors are saying, we might have to learn to live with it too. Of course, not as a pandemic, but maybe as an endemic, just like we are living with dengue, malaria, typhoid. No, so these viruses still affect us, these bacteria still affect us. So maybe COVID will there, but it will go. So to be able to reframe the situation, the thing is that what do you learn from this? How do you learn from this? We become united, we become resilient, we become hopeful, we become courageous. So that's how can reframe the situation. That okay, COVID, I'm not going to be intimidated by you, but I'm going to get over you. So it will require a lot of positive thinking. And of course, negative emotions are also emotions, which I'll come to that. But because at least emotion is emotion, whether negative or positive. So as long as you have an emotion, you can make it positive. And finding balance perspective is that, listen to a lot of talk shows, listen to the interviews of the doctors, what the epidemiologists, what the virologists have to say. And from there, you will see that none of them are scared. All of them have said, please do not have any fear. Cut out your fear. Take the required protocol. You do not even need to steam or gargle 10 times a day. That's not required. So listen to the health experts, follow what they are saying. There are a lot of mental health platforms nowadays where there is free online counseling also. So if you have your counselors in school also, or there may be a mentor, or maybe somebody you like to talk to. So by listening, by reading a lot of books, and a lot of going through a lot of videos. uh, just 1 minute. Yes, sorry, there was a antivirus scan that had come. So reach out, open up your mind, read a lot of classics, read a lot of books, read a lot of books on experts who had lived, who have survived pandemics, who have survived wars, who have gone through the greatest challenges where life itself became a threat to them. And you will see how they found perspectives. We will discuss a few today. So I hope you will be able to find your perspectives. But it is very important for all of us to be able to have an agenda for the day, or to be able to have an agenda for a week, so that we look forward to something when we get up. Because with summer vacations, you might not have much to do, although your projects would be there. But sometimes, studies and projects might become very monotonous. So you have to find productive things to do. You have to tap into your potential, inner potential, realize your strengths, realize your capabilities, discover your skills. Right. Ma'am, it's not easy to keep hope every time from this situation. Yes, I can understand. Our lost our childhood, our school days, and our life has come in a small machine called smartphones. How shall we keep these memories as good as bad when we grew up? So I understand. It is so unfortunate that this has happened, that yes, you're unable to come to school, you're unable to run around, you're unable to touch, hug your friends. No, it is actually, life has all become into a laptop or an iPad or a tab or a smartphone. But so memories are memories. Now, there are certain times when we do not have control over everything, but what we can have control over is ourselves. So it is, the positive thing is that whether we are connected today by the laptop, the internet, or by a phone, by the smartphone, we are connected. We are connected in some way. We have not been taken away into detention camps or concentration camps. We have not been taken away to shelter homes. We are with our families. We are still in the comfort of our homes, and we are still talking to each other. So we have to wait for the right time. If we were to become foolhardy and say, no, come what way, we will open up schools and we will get back to school, we will meet each other, then we would be very rash and unwise. So we have to be very wise as we keep hope, and that requires a lot of patience. So you need to be occupied with work and keep connection with your friends, so through your smartphone itself, so that you keep your disappointments and keep your depression at bay. Yes, good morning, everyone. Depression has become a very common norm right now, correct, among students. How to deal with depression? Question two, other than the classes that we are doing online, how to engage ourselves in doing something different other than sticking to the phone always. Very correct. So thank you for this question. Not only depression, anxiety, panic attacks, everything seems to have become very normal these days. And so what you need to do is you need to keep away your phones. Yes, your classes, your communication is through the phone. I do not know how you would feel about going for a run with a mask on, but if you feel up to it, you can do it. I have seen a lot of people in my area doing it, and they have been safe. So with proper safety measures, you can go for a run, or you can walk on your terrace, or go out in your balcony, or any little open space you find. Grow a plant, see some greenery, and do any other thing that you like to do. Do, because these are the times that you can get into a bit of household chores, or help your father wash the car, or do some. I mean, just go ahead and do whatever you want to, clean up, take care of a pet if you have a pet, or have a hobby, cultivate a hobby, stitching, whatever it is, because each one of you would have a different aptitude. Like some youngsters whom I have been counseling, they have started preparing for some competitives, or they have started taking some if courses in coding. So again, of course, he's a very screen person, so I told him he also need to come out of the screen. So what he started doing is he started learning driving. But of course, you cannot do it at your age. But learn maybe some indoor games, maybe some exercises, whatever. Just find, there would be host of activities that you can do while sitting at home. Maybe you can, some of the activities you can discover yourself also. After all, everybody who invented made an activity, all the activities and games we play or do has been invented by somebody. So you can go ahead and invent your, discover your own activity. Like what I do is, there are a lot of tests, psychometric tests and scales, but sometimes I prepare my own questionnaire. Sometimes I prepare my own sentence completion test, because everything is out here. So you can decide from there. All right. Uh, Ma'am, we have been keeping hope for too long. We have lost our class 8. We have been missing our friends so much. And moreover, I can understand how sad, how sad that you've not been able to see the school buildings, you are missing your friends, and you are not even going to able to go out. Yes, I can understand how difficult it is. So I hope, do not lose hope because of that. Have hope, because at the end of it, it is going to end. We have to be patient. First and foremost, patience is a virtue that we all need to cultivate. Of course, when you're young, it is a little difficult to be patient, and but some of you may be very, very active, and it is worse. I think people who like being by themselves, who like being indoors, have not suffered so much as people who are restless and who like to run around, who are very social, who are extroverts. It has been so difficult for them. So form little groups, have your own little meets, and have some clubs, online clubs, where you can do some activity together, discover something together. Sometimes I do exercise or walk around my locality. Well, that's wonderful. And you must be feeling very good the days you do that. Yes, I also feel very nice when I go up to the terrace and walk and feel the fresh air, see the trees, the birds. And when I see the birds and the trees, I feel, well, okay, the world is still surviving. So we will all, absolutely sail through this. Ma'am, everybody is asking me to be positive, but how to be positive in such a difficult situation? So it all starts with the mind. You can have a gratitude jar where you can count the blessings that you've had so far. What are the positives in your life that have happened so far? So the very fact that I think that we are alive and talking to each other in this webinar is a positive, that yes, I'm alive. And come on, man, if I'm alive, then there's so much I can do with my life. So it is, to feel negativity is very normal. But whenever you're feeling negative, you accept that negativity, that yes, I'm feeling very frustrated, I'm feeling very angry, I feel like, hitting somebody, I'm feeling very hurt, I feel like throwing things around. So accept that feeling, and then think that, okay, what can I do about it? If you feel like hitting somebody, go and punch the pillow for some time. Don't hurt yourself, don't cut yourself, and go ahead and do something creative, because I think whatever, creativity has different meanings for each one of us. So somebody of you may be painting, somebody may be dancing, somebody may be singing, somebody may be inventing a new dish or cooking a dish, somebody is happy, splashing around with water, so washing utensils. So think, discover these things so that you remain positive. Good morning, ma'am. I have a question. How can we find the hope to live our lives? I am asking this because I have a COVID-induced syndrome okay, because of that syndrome, I was in the ICU for 8 days and I'm still suffering for certain issues like hair fall and other things, even though I'm still optimistic. How do I address life as I used to do before? So it must have been so scary when you felt sick, but you have come out of your illness, and some of the symptoms may still be there. So you, of course, you have to be very, very careful, and you need to take care. But as long as you're strong in your mind, you will come out of it. Uh, can I just find that question? It's gone. Right. So your suffering will end. No suffering is there forever. What you need to have is a positive mindset, that and the will to live and the will to overcome those issues. So sometimes people live with terminal illnesses. Sometimes people live with a handicap throughout their lives, but yet they live and yet they survive. Yet they go ahead and do great things in life because they are not intimidated by their handicaps. No, they are not worried about their handicaps. They find, okay, my this circuit is closed, then how do I open my other circuits? The brain is a beautiful intricate place of so many circuits which we do not even explore, or we do not even discover. So even brain damaged people, you'll see wonderfully they work on certain days because there are other circuits working in their brains. So I hope you will overcome your illness soon, and you will be able to live life just like you were living before you're young. So with all your mental and physical energies, you will be able to come out of it. Be in touch with your doctor, talk to your doctor. And I hope next time if we meet, or next time your teachers meet you, your friends meet you, you will be in the absolutely fighting fit, a COVID warrior. So all the best and congratulations for braving this illness. Ma'am, I like, huh? So, all right. Yes, I know that. So people like staying indoors, but still it's suffering because sometimes you need some relief, even from staying indoors. Sometimes we all need relief from our mundane lives and routine lives. So actually, all of us are suffering. None of us are liking it. It's as if we have accepted it, that I have to stay indoors, so I have to find, you have to find things to do. You have to find activities to do. Sometimes when you are very upset, not liking it, I would just say that go ahead, go and get a good night's sleep, or take a cat nap, do something, take a power nap, and then write down write down what are your strengths, what are your abilities, what are your strong points. Then see what you can do from there. It is I would not say everybody has a unique mission, everybody has some strengths, everybody has some unique potential. So once you start discovering that, I read a lot of classics, watch a lot of movies now. So they need not be movies of the present day. They may be movies of wartime. Like what I do is I'm watching a lot of wartime movies to understand what was life like that during those times. So life was actually very exciting, and despite them going through wars. So how they built up their characters, how they polished their personalities, how they developed their skills is what has really touched me. If you read classics, like Little Women, you might have seen it's the movie is also there. If you read classics like David Copperfield or Great Expectations, how harsh life was there, then you will understand that actually, compared to those times, we are actually much more privileged because we are in the 21st century, and we are technologically we are very advanced. Maybe in other ways we have taken a back seat, which we need to revive again. But because we have that technology with us, we are able to stay connected with each other. So find that joy in life, even when we are under house arrest, as I will come to some of my slides, which I have prepared for you, and I hope that will answer your question further. Ma'am, patience, I think, running out of patience. Ma'am, now we can't go outside sitting at a place and study. Can't do, not all students are interested in art and exercises. My suggestion is that for a limit, can we play games in mobile or laptop? Yes, of course, you do need to do something. So do play, but do not make it an addiction. Do play for some time, but just as relaxation. During this difficult pandemic, we are losing so many of our close ones, and we tend to be sad. The sad feelings don't go in any way. Yes, so definitely bereavement is the greatest grief that any one of us can have. And if you have lost loved ones, close ones, then that is a grief that is not going to go very soon. But what you can really do is treasure and cherish those memories, write something for that person, because this is what many of us have done. We have lost, even I have lost, and I'm sure many of us sitting here have lost, people uh, who are very close to us, and they have left a void in our lives. So the sadness will be there. As I said, that a sadness is also emotion, and every time we cannot be feeling very up and about, every time we cannot be feeling very joyous. So the very fact that you're feeling sad shows what a sensitive and soft person you are at heart, because how much you valued that person. So not to feel sad when we have lost somebody we loved is actually abnormal. So what you're feeling is very, very, normal, but you need to go ahead and do things that you are doing. Maybe write in your journal. Keeping a journal is also a very good idea at the moment, so that even these memories will stay. See, 2 years later, 3 years later, I'm sure we are going to come out of it. I do not even think it's going to take another year. Hopefully not. By 2022, I do hope we come out of it. Things are at bay. We start regular life. But until then, we have to find things that we can do that keep us happy, keep us motivated, keep us challenged. So challenge your mind, challenge your abilities, so that you can develop and polish your hobbies and your skills to the fullest. So by the time that we all get back, come back to school, and I hope your childhood, as somebody wrote, will not be spoiled. So I hope that by next year, all of you will be back to school, and then you would be sharing your so many feelings and expressions with each other. You could even make a film on it or a video. You could even do a play on it. We would be having so many scripts, right? So we could even have a one act play competition on that. So think about it.
Shampa ma'am,
Yes.
if I may intervene, I
Yes.
know the students are, opening up now and they are coming up with a lot of questions. But however, the slides that are still pending, and you also have some interesting videos for them. I think it's right time we catch up with that, and then
Yes.
we will also be able to, resolve their own issues. At the end of which, students, you can keep writing your questions as and when it's popping up. Shreya ma'am is into it. She's taking a note of that. And finally, the questions will be presented to Shampa ma'am after she is through with her slides and the videos that she has to show it to you. So, ma'am, you can now catch up with the presentation. Shreya ma'am will come back with the questions. And if we cannot answer the questions today, students, we will give you a mail ID where you can mail all your questions. You will get all the answers, right? Okay.
Right.
So we move ahead with the next one.
Yes. Yes. So
I think
thank
we
you
can
very
just
much.
skip the slides
Yes,
for
we can go
question
to
answers
the
and move
next.
to the other
Yes.
one.
Yes. We'll So thank you. I mean, that shows very open minds. There were so many questions. So it shows a very seeking spirit. And I'm sure your future is bright because you have so much of seeking spirit and questions. And as Madhumita ma'am said, we will come back. I will definitely mail all the questions to ma'am, and you will get your answers. Can we go move ahead with the slideshow? Right. So we will move ahead with this also. There are doctors and psychiatrists who have lived through the concentration camps and the greatest of persecutions and wars, and they have evolved victorious, and they have gone ahead and propounded theories and schools and colleges and universities somebody, Dr. Daisa Kuikeda, who was, told that he is going to die at the age of 30 because he had tuberculosis as a youngster at the age of 19 because he didn't have enough to eat. It was World War II was going on. They were a big family. His father was a seaweed farmer. But today he lives because he's 93 years old, and he had decided that he is going to establish many schools and colleges and universities for youngsters, and he's going to have concert associations, and he's going to work for peace because he had seen the horrors of war. He had said, I'm going to spread peace and prosperity around. This year he has given a peace proposal to the United Nations about security, social security for the Asian nations, social security which is there in Europe, but it is not there in the Asian nations. So many people have lost their jobs, their livelihoods, but we do not have a social security system. Our governments have not thought about it. So this is a proposal that he has given, and this time the United Nations has actually taken note of his proposal. He's also, by the way, the first recipient of the Tagore Peace Award, along with many, many other laurels and awards. So we have talked about negative emotions, and as I said, we need to recognize them, accept them, seek guidance, and try to channelize them. For example, what anger can be channelized into passion to work hard, for seeking justice. So if I'm an angry person, I get angry with things that are wrong in society, and I go ahead and do something to set them right, or do something to start the ball rolling. And mood swings, many of us have mood swings. Many of the students have written about mood swings. So what can you do? It is okay to have mood swings, but what can you do during the highs? You can work very hard during the highs. You can complete all your projects when you're unable to sleep, and later when you're feeling very low, very exhausted, then you can try to sleep it off. So the rude people often write wonderful satires. So look at the positive of rudeness. You can write a satire, you can read, you can have some ironical humor, you can draw some cartoons. And if you're very, very irritable all the time, then I would say that check your diet and your sleep, because too much of junk food, too much of sugar can also bring about irritability. But of course, there are other reasons also. The next slide, please. So yesterday, actually, there was one student who wrote about atheists, that atheists hope to. So atheists are people who are non-believers, who do not believe in anything, do not believe in God, basically. And nihilists are people who do not believe in anything. But nowadays, they are also hoping, because they are seeing how the optimists and the people who are positive have actually won. So they are now also checking facts. They're accepting progress, however little it may be, and they're observing how optimists and believers function. So I think they have started coming out of their nihilism or their fatalistic attitude or their atheism. The next one, please. Next slide. Right. So here, I think we can show you a small video, a cartoon, which many of you would be able to relate to. And can we have the video of the cartoon now?
I should just quit and go back to making noodles. Look, kid, bad things happen, and you can't do anything about it, right?
Right.
Wrong! When the world turns its back on you, you turn your back on the world.
When life gets you down, you know what you gotta do?
I don't want to know what you gotta do.
Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, swimming, swimming.
You gotta put your past behind you.
But it still hurts. Oh, yes, the past can hurt. But the way I see it, you can either run from it or learn from it.
Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. But today is a gift. That is why it is called the present.
Your story may not have such a happy beginning, but that doesn't make you who you are. It is the rest of your story. So, who are you?
Right. Thank you. And so this is the time, I think most of us have watched Lion King, and how Simba fought his battles. And so it is very important, like when these films are there. So somebody was asking, what do we do? So watch films, even if you watched it earlier, because when we watch such inspirational, motivational, brave films, we get a direction from these films. So absolutely, it is now time to put behind our past. The past is gone. We can only learn from the past. It is the present. Every day is a gift. So if you realize that, you will be very grateful that I'm still alive and kicking, and there is so much that I can do, and there is so much to do. So it is all a wonderful discovery and of your journey. Make it very, very eventful and one of adventure and discovery, where you learn to take risks, where you learn to overcome challenges, where you learn to face disappointments, and yet have the courage to go ahead with your dreams. So, how do we move forward? Now, I had told you we need to accept our feelings, positive, negative, whatever, but be very careful if you're indifferent, because indifferent people, nothing seems to move them, and it is very risky because they neither move nor do they like to see others moving. So, if you have sensed it in you, then realize your danger zone and try to first become a negative person if you have to become negative. Then you can become a positive person, or extremely wonderful if you can become positive straight away. And you need to recognize your thoughts, whether they are self-propelling or self-defeating, because when I accept I have a self-defeating thought, then I can overcome it. And we all need to take positive action. So this director and actor, what he wrote is, all you can change is yourself. Sometimes, if we all try to change others, we all try to change the world, but it is not very easy. But definitely what we can all do is we can change ourselves, because we do have control over my own self. We all have, we might not have control over anything else or anybody, and no matter how much you feel bad about it, it is no use. So don't get into that groove at all, but always think that what can I do to change myself. Even if you're very, you're a very sensitive person, an empathetic person, a very helpful person, and that also happens when somebody is very easygoing and cheerful and empathetic and kind. People seem to take advantage of them, and you can get surrounded by a lot of toxic people. So you need to realize the toxicities in your environment and your surroundings, and you also need to know how to respond to that. So it will all begin with a change in your own self, and it might seem like a very small change, but sometimes that can change almost everything around you. Next, please. Next slide, please. So, how do we go about it? Because daily life has become so boring, so monotonous, but still we have to go ahead. And no matter how mundane it may be, we all have to start with that change in a realm of our daily lives only. We all have to challenge our feelings and emotions and thoughts in our daily lives only. Sometimes, like even psychiatrists and psychologists might tell you that it's all right. It's okay not to be okay, not to feel okay. It's okay if you're feeling depressed. It's okay if you're feeling anxious, because those are human feelings too. So people might tell you, "Oh, you shouldn't feel this way," but okay, if you're feeling that way, recognize, accept the feeling, and then see what you need to do about it. So no matter how regimental life is, no matter how distressing, no matter how frustrating, no matter how long it seems, but actually, if you see, it's just 1 year and a few months. If actually you see some of you who may be 14, 15, that at least 12 years, 13 years of your life was fine. It was not that bad. Only 1 year and a few months have been really tough. And maybe we need to live with it for another 6 months, 8 months, maybe a max to max another year. So it's not much. We will overcome this also. This too shall pass, as was often said last year. So happiness lies in moving on through the way of youth. Why youth? Why do I say youth? Because all of you are very young, and you need to live. You need to live your lives fully. You need to live your lives well. You need to live your lives with good health, with a good well-being, not just physical but mental and spiritual, so that there would be fresh energy coming. There would be fresh ideas coming. There would be fresh ideals coming into the next 20 years that we are going to witness life. So the world actually is looking up to you. No, it is not the other way around. So we have a lot of hope from you, the youngsters who are here today, because it is you, the new generation, which is going to change everything around. A lot of struggles, history has been actually written and shaped by the power and dynamism of youth. So you are very important. Never think that you're helpless. Never feel hopeless. Each one of you is a wonderful human being who will be writing the history, who will be writing each one of your own pages in history. So look forward to that. Start writing today itself. So happiness lies there in moving on through the way of youth. And by the way, when I talk about young energy, it is not only about 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, or 18-year-olds. It is also 50, 60, 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds maybe, who live with fresh determination there and fresh energy. There have been a lot of late age achievers. Many of you might have heard about Goethe, who wrote Faust, the play Faust. He completed it in his 80s. Got a award for that. It's a very well-known play. Grandma Moses, who took up painting at the age of 75, who had never had any formal training in painting. She was so lonely. She was a young widow. Her children got married, they left, and then she became so lonely that she took up the painting brush without any formal training in painting. She in America, and in her lifetime, she sold over 1,000 paintings. So you need to despair. Each one of us can write a beautiful history when we have a passion, when we have ideals, when we have a commitment, and when we have a will, which is very important. So the next slide, please. So I'm sure you would have some questions about your families, about getting a loan, handling advice, money restrictions. I mean, those you can always write questions. I will come to that. You would be having problems with your parents at times, with your friends at times, choosing your friends, losing your friends, maintaining friendship, dealing with envy, handling rejection, peer pressure. Some of you may be loners, but everything, also you might have struggle with believing in yourself. But mind you, if we start believing in ourselves, 50%, or I would say 75% of the battle is won. The rest of it we can handle. Just like I said, that I believe if we can deal, if we're efficient in dealing with our emotions, the rest of it we can manage. So the next slide, please. So we need to actually learn beyond our textbooks. Textbooks are there because there's a curriculum, but there is so much of learning that happens beyond the textbook. All of us have learned, and we are still learning through the pandemic. We go to school. Of course, you've not been able to come to school, but your school has so nicely, they have thought of you, and they have organized this webinar from which we are learning from each other. And there might be so many other avenues, so many other sources from where you learn. So definitely there is a purpose of study. We have demands on our time, and there would be, the importance of grades, the challenge for grades, fear of failure, and so many other things. But let us now look, what we have learned from some of the famous movies that we have watched. So here I would like to take a pause. I would like to pause a little and ask for the video. There's some just one or two dialogues from a few movies, but just listen to it carefully. These are your very own Bollywood movies.
मेरी जिंदगी तो जैसे एक बंद डिब्बे के अंदर कट रही है।
इंसान को डिब्बे में सिर्फ तब होना चाहिए जब वो मर चुका हो।
जिंदगी जीने के दो ही तरीके होते हैं, एक जो हो रहा है होने दो, बर्दाश्त करते जाओ, या फिर जिम्मेदारी उठाओ उसे बदलने की।
तुम कभी जीत नहीं पाए क्योंकि तुम हमेशा मुझे हराने की सोचते थे, और मैं कभी हारा नहीं क्योंकि मैं हमेशा जीतने की सोचता था। आज भी मुझे हराने की कोशिश में तुम खुद हारे हो।
लेकिन अगर हम चले गए तो ये सॉलिड सनसेट मिस हो जाएगा ना। जितना भी ट्राई करो बनी, लाइफ में कुछ ना कुछ तो छूटेगा ही। तो जहां है वहीं का मजा लेते ना।
दुनिया में दो तरह के लोग होते हैं, विनर्स एंड लूजर्स। लेकिन जिंदगी हर लूजर को वो एक मौका जरूर देती है जिसमें वो विनर बन सकता है।
ये जो अपना दिल है ना, बड़ा डरपोक है यार। इसको बेवकूफ बना के रखो। लाइफ में कितनी भी बड़ी प्रॉब्लम हो ना, उसको बोलो कोई बात नहीं चाचू, सब ठीक ठाक है, ऑल इज वेल, ऑल इज वेल, और उससे प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो जाएगी। नहीं, लेकिन उसको झेलने की हिम्मत आ जाती है।
उन चीजों के लिए वक्त निकालो जिनसे तुम्हें सचमुच खुशी मिलती है, लाइक कुकिंग।
Yeah, well, that's the plan. I mean, 40 के बाद I'll retire and...
Dude, तुम्हें कैसे पता है कि तुम 40 तक जिंदा रहोगे? Seize the day, my friend. पहले इस दिन को पूरी तरह जियो, फिर 40 के बारे में सोचना।
किसी महापुरुष ने कहा है कि कामयाब होने के लिए नहीं, काबिल होने के लिए पढ़ो। सक्सेस के पीछे मत भागो, एक्सेलेंस का पीछा करो। सक्सेस झक मार के तुम्हारे पीछे आएगी।
इतनी शिद्दत से मैंने तुम्हें पाने की कोशिश की है कि हर जर्रे ने मुझे तुमसे मिलाने की साजिश की है। कहते हैं अगर किसी चीज को दिल से चाहो तो पूरी कायनात उसे तुमसे मिलाने की कोशिश में लग जाती है।
भगवान के भरोसे मत बैठिए, का पता भगवान हमरे भरोसे बैठा हो।
Thank you. So I hope we can again, watch these movies whenever we are feeling down and low and get inspiration, because movies and books actually exist. They've all been written on somebody who's take a step or two to take the responsibility for whatever happens, whatever negative happens, and then not just sit with that negative situation and brood about it, but come on, let's do something about it so that we can turn around the negative situation into a winning situation. You can look this up in YouTube and you can go for the movie. Can we go for the next slide, please? I can see there are a lot of chats and students are chatting to each other. Dipto Guho, yes, I can understand you would be having a lot of questions. We just have a few more slides and we will get into your question and answer session again. So can we have the next slide, please? While we wait for the slide, maybe I'll just...
Kindly stop sharing and reshare again. The screen is black.
Yes. So can we go to that? Yes. So definitely what we watched in these movies, these dialogues, but there was a lot of confidence. And definitely you might be thinking that where do people get confidence from? So confidence, let me tell you that none of us are born confident. There would be very few people who are born with that kind of trait. Maybe they get it from, it's there in their genes, or they learned it along the way, but all of us have learned to be confident or to deal with levels of confidence. So a person who seems very confident on the surface may be actually a very fearful person, but seems confident because that person has gone through something in life or has challenged one's inadequacies. So this confidence will come by choosing and maintaining hope, by doing things that you thought that you could never do before, or thought that you could do but have never done before. So start doing that, discovering your potential and facing problems. And as I said, it may be in some people's genes, but then you can also nurture this quality in yourself. The next slide. So compassion. And what is compassion? It is not just sympathy, it is not just pity, because we can sympathize with a beggar, we can give that beggar money, but we are not actually improving the quality of that person's life. So how do we actually improve the quality of our own lives and the quality of others is by a genuine concern for people's happiness, to be able to empower and enable that person to come out, to believe in themselves and come out from whatever is causing such self-defeating behavior, and learn to face disappointments and challenges and move ahead. So it is not just yourself, it is also others. But yes, it's very true that unless we are happy ourselves, unless we are sorted out ourselves, how do I help somebody? But sometimes I have seen students who, while being sad or while working out their conflicts themselves, have been helping others, touching people's lives. So if you're very kind hearted, very helpful person, you're a very cheerful person, then you'll always be surrounded by people, because when we're cheerful and kind and popular, we become very popular because people want to be around us, because we spread so much of positive vibes around. So we touch people's lives this way. Just I think 2 days back, somebody was telling me that her children she was looking for an NGO. She was saying that her children want to go to those centers and teach them English speaking skills, writing skills, and her son wants to teach them science. So I asked them, do they want to do it online? She said, no, they would like to go to the centers. So I was thinking, what beautiful, thoughts, what beautiful feelings during this pandemic, that they want to reach out to others. So in whatever way we can, it can be through our own special ways. We all do not have to do the same thing. We can do things, teaching somebody a game, playing football with a para boy, so that also feels involved, accepted. We do not always have to stick to our kinds. But of course, we also have to be careful that we do not learn the negatives from there, but rather try to spread our positivity around. There might be bullies. We need to stop bullies. We have to deal with violence. There is so much of violence, we must be reading about in the papers. And needless to tell you that it's high time that we raise our voices against it. The next slide, please. So, but how do we do it all? No, it is how do we get the confidence? How do we get compassion? So the underlying quality is courage. As I said, courage is the beginning of everything. So courageous people are not people who do not fear. They are not people who do, who do not tremble at times, or who do not have nightmares. Yes, they have, but they know how to make a beginning. They know how to face their fears. Somewhere, if you get to watch that movie where eagles dare, it's a movie by Alistair MacLean, not a writer of your times, but when I was in school, about your age, I had read that book and I even watched that film. So there's a very, very thrilling scene in the movie where they have to jump from the ropeway, and it's all snow, covered from snow, and it's on a height, and the person is not being able to get the courage. And then the motivator tells him, come on, jump, do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain. So it is so important to be able to face our fears and do it. Courage doesn't always roar like a lion. It is not that somebody who goes ahead and is rebellious and does things that we are not supposed to do, or that are not socially appropriate, or that are self-defeating, self-harm, self-destructive. And we think, oh, how courageous, but that is not courage. So that is actually cowardice, that is actually foolhardy. But what is courage? It is that little voice which at the end of the day says that I will try again tomorrow. So if any of you watched the movie Gone with the Wind, and that is about the American Civil War and how people had lost their plantations, people had lost their wealth, and people who had never worked, who had been very used to a life of luxury and comfort, how they had to dig their own land, so do plantation, and how they change their situation. But there's still everything. Despite that, her husband is leaving her, and how Scarlett O'Hara says that I will find a way to get him back. Tomorrow is another day. So we always have to hope that, okay, if today was very sad, How do I live my tomorrow? And this is what that voice, this is what courage tells you, that I will try again tomorrow. Courage continues in being able to move on. So it is the key to fresh energy and action. We have to throw out our egos, we have to throw out our vanity and our false prides. It is the key to be able to accept my situation, key to be able to recognize my situation. What are the threats? What are the possibilities? And to be able to come to terms with that. It is the key to be able to get over our lesser selves so that we can take fresh and determined action and wise action. Samtati has written a very interesting question. I'd like to come to that. Okay, the next slide. So why have we called this session Looking Beyond COVID through the lens of the youth? Because y'all are looking at COVID. We are all looking at COVID. And it is the youth who have to write a new history. So it is looking beyond COVID through the lens of the youth at the bigger picture. What is the bigger picture? It is not just a virus. There are viruses of inequality, there are viruses of human rights, there are viruses of hate and prejudice. The environment, there's environmental degradation. The individual is being devalued. So where is the reverence for life? What did Albert Schweitzer, who won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1952 for his work, reverence for life is the highest court of appeal. He was a world-renowned philosopher. If you Google him, you'll see his works. So today, people seem to have lost that reverence for life. Life has been so devalued. The dignity of the human being has been so devalued that it is we again, through our power, the age of the people is already here. We have seen it. People have risen. People are rising to the occasion. We have seen how motorcycle racers have become ambulance drivers, how a professor in Bangalore, after his online classes, he goes ahead to help COVID people who have lost, or people who have lost their relatives or family members due to COVID, how he's digging graves. And there's so many, food outlets offering food and support to people suffering from COVID. So people have actually stood up for people. People have actually stood hand. Where there was no sense of responsibility, people said, well, if nobody will do it, I will go ahead and do it. And so it's with that kind of determination, it's with that kind of commitment, it's with that kind of passion that we rise for a new humanity. We look beyond COVID at the bigger picture, when we learn to revere life, and when I realize that I'm not just a puppet in the hands of my destiny. I can transform my destiny. I can challenge my destiny. Thank you very much. And now, if you have any questions, if we have time for questions, we'll go into it. If not, I will mail them. Ma'am. So do we have time?
I think we can take, Shreya ma'am, if we could take 1 or 2 questions, 1 or maximum 2, and then we move ahead. And the rest, ma'am will mail it to us, the answers. Just choose the 2 different ones or put them together and put it up.
Yes, maybe a question that's not been asked, something.
Hello. Good afternoon, ma'am. Shampa ma'am.
Good afternoon. Yes.
The questions I went through the chat box, ma'am. I think your slides and the explanation has answered most of them. But there's one question which I would like to read out. Students, after being in this, staying home for almost over a year and taking exams online, they have a lot of apprehensions, like how do they go back, and how will they start with the classes, and how to take the offline exam. So if you could throw some light upon giving some suggestions that once they go back to school, and we hope that day comes soon, and what are the how will they cope up with those situations? If you could just give some suggestions on that.
Right. So one thing is not to lose practice. So that is very important, because I do understand with online classes and online exams, most of you must have lost a bit of motivation, or that kind of rigorous study habits which you had. So gradually to start doing that again, and not to just think, okay, this is an online. So no, so of course, when you come back, it's going to be a little difficult because you'll all have to get used to that again. But I'm sure you will be able to do it. You see, everything is a matter of habit, and man is the most adaptable of all beings. So you see, from 12 years, or say about 8 to 10 years of your school life, about 8 years of your school life, you were having offline exams, you were coming to school every day. It is only the past 1 year that has, had a setback, and maybe another few months, and we will be out of that groove soon. So it takes a little bit, maybe initially you will be feeling a little lost, but I think after a week you will settle down into that pattern again, and I'm sure you will be enjoying it also. Sometimes when we really work very hard work also has its own joys when it pays dividends. So when you start working that hard, because school life is all about getting knowledge, about polishing your attitude, developing your attitude, your values, your skills. And so I do remember that my first psychology class, I still remember the lecture, because it was definitely an offline class. We didn't have online classes those days. So it is, how you understand your school life, how much you value your school life, how much you value your books for your, or your education. Of course, I did say that you have to learn beyond the textbooks also, but how much you value your education. And as I said, it is not just for marks, it is also for knowledge, for building your attitude, developing your personalities. Because nowadays, colleges are not just looking at marks. There are some colleges that are, judging you based on your competitives and your school results, but there are many colleges, many courses which are judging you on your personalities, on your, so personal interviews, on your skill. So they have skill assessment tests. So start developing those. You must have seen how Amir Khan is saying in Three Idiots that not successful but capable. So each one of you develop your capabilities. I'm sure when you look at it from that point of view, you will be able to adjust to school life again. And I'm sure all of you are waiting to come back. Even the person who said
Can I,
she likes being indoors. Yes.
Madhumita ma'am, this is nothing to do much with this, but actually when Shampa ma'am was asking, can I have some more time or should I stop? See, technology.
Visi ma'am, you are muted, ma'am.
Unmuted. They were not allowing me because the children have been muted, so I was also muted. I'm so sorry about that. Send a message privately to Vikram, kindly unmute. I can't speak. And I'm going on speaking and my unmute is not becoming.
No, you can be heard now. You can be heard now.
Of course, because Vikram has done that later, no? This is on a lighter note. I'm sure the children are also hearing. So even I was muted, children, along with you. Okay. Because I really wanted to share how much we enjoyed the 2 days with her,
Thank you so
ma'am,
much.
indeed, we had a nice time. Shreya, if you have maybe 1 or 2 questions more, at least for another 5 minutes we can spare, and then we go, or do we go in for, if you don't have a question, then we go in for the vote of thanks by Priyanka ma'am.
Ma'am, there is one more question. I will just quickly
Please go ahead. Please
address
go ahead.
it. Thank you, ma'am. Shampa ma'am, there's another question. Many of them have, I just try to compile it and tell you. We are using smartphone these days a lot. And now smartphone is being used both for education purpose as well as for entertainment. Many a times, teenagers, they have the conflicts with their parents when it comes to using their smartphone, and they would like to know how to deal with such situations and what should be their how do they respond to such situation, if you could just say.
Yes, I've understood the question. So definitely, yes, most of us also, it's not just you, even I, most of us, we are, on our phones or laptops most of the time, because that has become a way of life at the moment. And as long as you are doing something productive, it's okay. Like somebody asked, can I play games for some time? Yes, of course you can. But then again, you need to see that it doesn't become an addiction. You need to guard against that. If you have that kind of self-control, you can go ahead and play. It is very important to take some time off your phones also. one thing is that you will need your phones to be charged. You'll need your laptops to be charged. Another thing is about your posture and your eyes. So you need to keep that also into mind. And it's helps all of us to go out and get some fresh air. Like somebody wrote that I have been out for some jogs and walks and exercises. So that's very important. So yes, of course, your parents will have their contention about you being on the phone for such a long time, but maybe you can tell your parents also and work out a schedule or some kind of agreement with your parents, because you all are young and your parents would be, because you've been taken into a different world altogether which doesn't belong to your parents. Teachers being teachers, they're of course they're also on the phone, your administrators are on the phone, on the laptop, but your parents might not be on the phone all the time, or they might be not be, actually they have not yet come to terms with this kind of a lifestyle or this kind of an uh, pattern that we have all fallen into. So just explain to your parents. They might be also fearful about whether you're chatting with your boyfriends or girlfriends, what kind of exposure you're having, what kind of internet browsing you're doing. So I'm sure I do not have to spell it out. All of you know what kind of worries the parents have. So as long as you do not worry your parents, I think your parents would not have too much of it, would not become a bone of contention. But for your own sake, do take some time off your phones.
If I may
It's
add
not
a
very
little
good.
bit here.
Yes, yes,
uh,
ma'am.
the parents will have some worries and issues because they haven't been through this, and most of the time, most of the parents who are not working are not always glued to the phone. But however, if you are on the right track, as ma'am said, and if that is not a cause of your addiction, the worry for the parents, I think that's fine. But if it still doesn't work and you're not able to make your parents understand, then we are there. We will talk to them. The teachers are there, Shreya ma'am is there, Priyanka ma'am is there, and we are all there to support you, provided you are on the right track.
Right. So there you have a lot of assurance.
Yes, I just want to tell one thing, just to share with you, Shampa ma'am,
Yes.
that if they can just shift their thoughts, like they have started their school at the very early age of 3 years, and if they think that actually it is from 6 years the school starts, so 2 years they can be reluctant that yes, I have traveled a long path in the school years, so this 1 year or 1.5 years doesn't matter. And second of all, they were saying that what they can do to come out of this situation. So first, let them list down. It was my thought process that can they things I can do something about, and things I can do nothing about. So if they can categorize in this too, then they will find a lot of time that what are the things they can do, and then they can find out the positivity out of this situation, and they can go along with it. Right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Quite correct. So I hope, Shreya ma'am, I answered that question about phone,
Yes, ma'am.
smartphones.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think other than that, the questions that came in the chat box, you have answered most of them. And thank you once again, ma'am. Sabha
Thank you
ma'am.
very much also.
Yes.
Thank you very much, all of you. It's been a
Thank
very,
you
very
so much,
just like
Shampa ma'am. Thank you so much for guiding us on how to cope up with the situation. And definitely there are so many uncertainties, and the need of the hour is to prepare ourselves to adapt with the tiring times, with the changing situations, and stand by each other, because it is together that we can actually fight an invisible enemy, the COVID. Priyanka ma'am.
Thank you, Sabha ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I'll hand it over to you.
Yes. Thank you, Shampa ma'am, for this wonderful session. Firstly, I would like to thank our management for giving us an opportunity to have such a wonderful interaction with you, for our students, and even us, for the teachers. My takeaway from this session is every day we get up in the morning, we need to find out hope, because I was finding that students are writing, ma'am, hope, positivity, everyone is talking about. So how to deal with it? So as ma'am said, that you need to find your inner strength, and this is what I practice, and the inner strength, you share it with the ones who need it. and then you will see that you have lot to give and lot to share, rather than to relent, accept that I have to stay in this house. See, negativity is all about how you can turn this negativity into positivity. I think that is the thing with which we can survive in this situation. Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a wonderful interaction. Thank you, students. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much,
Thank you, ma'am.
everybody,
Thank you,
and
ma'am.
stay safe
Thank
and
you, ma'am.
take care.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, 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 teachers.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.